this here. So the last activity for the last week of classes is to build a notes page. And so you can either start a new reply at the top, or you can reply to somebody else at the bottom. When you put things in here, you want to be careful because sometimes typing math is a little tricky. So maybe I want to write a little bit about lines. Important part about lines is slope, right? And slope is rise over run. But then when I try to type like the formula with the whole x2, y2, that gets a little tricky just typing. And if I don't have parentheses in the right spot, then things get messed up. So if I try to type something like y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1, this is technically wrong because with this kind of division symbol, I really need parentheses.
That math thing helps a lot.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to get to. So I'm just going to demo how to use the math formula thing because it'll be helpful to make prettier notes. And you know, if the notes are good to look at, then they might be more helpful. So that was kind of awkward typing that right there without the parentheses. It's technically incorrect. So instead, I'm going to type it using the math tool here, which this button says insert math equation. And anytime you point to one of these, it tells you what it does. So let's go try the insert equation.
I love that thing.
This list of things I can do, and sometimes clicking the right button at the right time is a problem. You know, if you don't do them in the right order, it's a problem. So if I want to do slope, I first have to set up a fraction, and then I can type something like the x2, y2, y2 and x2 and so on. So y, now here I want to subscript the 2, which is the way it's usually written in the book. It's not a huge deal if you don't. And then if I right arrow, I can jump out of it. And then minus y subscript, clicking up here, and then 1, and then arrow out of it. And then I can go down to the denominator. And similarly, x subscript 2, arrow out of the subscript, and then minus x subscript 1. So if you want things to look nicer, the equation editor here is pretty nice. And so once you do, and I recommend doing this in small chunks. Don't type a ton of stuff in this box. So I just insert my little chunk, and that's way better looking than what I have here. So I'm just going to delete this other stuff. That was kind of not as nice. And I can even put words in there. So like here I have the rise/run. I could make it prettier by just going into the equation editor and doing it. And so it just takes a little practice, but it's not too much different than using a scientific calculator. So I would type my fraction, and then I just put rise in the top and run in the bottom, and it looks a little nicer. So I'd highly recommend trying to do that. And if you ever get stuck, like you try to do something and it just doesn't look quite right, just post it anyway, and I can always help you clean it up after.
Yeah, I agree with you. I use like insert when I'm trying to do something, and then I'll type what I need to type and then insert again, instead of using that whole thing to type all the sentences and stuff.
Yeah. And then some other things like a picture of slope would be nice. And so I could draw one and then upload it with the image, embed image button here. So if you had a picture that you wanted to put in there, so I would often take a picture from my phone and then email it to myself from my phone so I can get it here. But your picture could be a screenshot. Like maybe I just look up slope, and then I go to the Wikipedia page about slope, and they probably have a nice picture. And so then I could just borrow their picture. And Wikipedia is a free site, and they give away their stuff. So I could put that in there. Now this has a little more. I don't really like that thing right there, but it's got my whole x2 minus x1, y2 minus y1. Maybe they have a different picture down below. Oh, that's a cute one there. Yeah, so maybe I like this picture as an example. And so then they have a download button, and I could just put it in there. So I'm just going to download this. There we go. Slope, sure. Let's put it in downloads. So to put a picture in a a page like this, the picture has to live on your computer, and then you can embed the image. So once you get it to your computer, if you want to put images in there, so it's, some of you have done this on your show your work assignments. From Canvas here, you would go to My Files, and then that allows you to upload it. And then you can go find it, open it, and then double check the size. 600 pixels isn't too bad. If it was like 3,000 pixels wide, I would worry about it. And it's always width, then height. And this right here. And if you change one, it'll change the other for you. So like maybe I only want it to be 500 pixels wide. And if I click over there, it'll recalculate, which is kind of nice. And the alt text, I worry about that, but you don't have to. That's mainly for screen readers, for people who have vision impairments. So we're not going to worry about that at the moment. But usually I try to write something that describes what the image is for people that can't actually see it. That example was 3 halves. Example slope of lines illustrated. And then throw it in there. And you can, usually what I like to do is just kind of keep my posts to one subject at a time. So I'll post about lines here. And then if I wanted to post about, say, percent change, I would do another post for that one. And post as much stuff as you want. The goal here is to make a useful set of notes for each of us. And if you can help out the rest of the class, then that's awesome, in addition to helping yourself. And then after everyone's done posting here, I'll clean it up into a single document and try to organize it. So if a bunch of you wrote about lines, I'll take the best of what you wrote and put it together. And I usually rely on you guys to police yourselves. If somebody mistypes something, then you should reply to them and say, hey, I think that second line of yours is not quite right. Can you fix it?
Oh, like that example I printed out from last year.
Right, there was an error in there that nobody caught. And I think I have it set up so that you can edit what you post. I'm gonna have to double check that. All right, so I'm gonna stop this part of the recording and then we'll move on.